kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to a blustery but very hot central lowveld of the world's most beautiful country. This is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Rush, everybody, I have some bad news for you. The bad news, Brian, is that we have no internet in the final control, which means that during the course of this live safari for 3 hours, you will be unable to send us through your questions to #SafariLive or your emails to questions@WildEarthTV. This means, of course, that we will have to make up the questions as they come in, otherwise we might not have a huge amount to talk about unless we find something really spectacular. My name is James Henry. On camera today is Brian Joubert. What have we got today, Brian?
A balloon.
A balloon thumb. How wonderful, balloon thumb. And then on the other vehicle, Taylor McCurdy is going down to Cheetah Plains with David Eastor, and Byron Sarau is knocking about with Craig. What is Craig's surname?
I don't know.
Craig, I don't know, and Herbert Causa. They are in this vicinity around Treehouse Dam with us, hoping to find perhaps Kurula and her little babies. We're going to try and see if we can't figure out where they've gone. There's a Waterbuck. So we'll have a look at that first. That will be our first aminal of the day. Excellent stuff. Ah, Melissa, you would like to know what colour a Waterbuck is. A Waterbuck is brownish grey. Isn't that correct, Brian?
Yes.
Melissa in Antarctica would like to know what colour a Waterbuck is. It's brownish grey. That's the sort of question we'll make up during the course of the afternoon, I think.
Wonderful.
Wonderful stuff. All the questions we want to answer. We have a question from Kirsten in the final control, and Kirsten would like to know why it is that a waterbuck has a tail. Kirsten, a waterbuck has a tail to make it look longer for predators. So the longer a waterbuck's tail is, the bigger it looks for predators, and it's therefore, the longer your tail is as a waterbuck, the less likely you are to be eaten. I am, of course, talking nonsense, everybody. That is complete nonsense. We're just having you on, as it were. We do not, I'm afraid, have any internet, like I said, and I am sorry that we started late. We've had a couple of technical glitches so far. Now, the reason we're going to look for Kurula out here is we need her basically for our TV shows. Our TV audience has met her once, and they've met her babies once, and we need to find out where they are just to keep the story going and find out what's happening with them. So that's what we're going to be doing around here. If we can still find out that she's in the south, then we'll probably go down to Chitwa Dam and see what's going on that side. Taylor, I think, is going towards Cheetah Plains. Marvellous. In the meantime, let's head across to Taylor McCurdy and David Eastor on their way to Cheetah Plains, and they will tell you what they're going to do, and I'm afraid you won't be able to tell them anything about what you think they should be doing.
We have got a family of piglets. Can you see them there, David? I must go forward a little bit. There they are. Yes, we are live, David. We are live. There are the piglets, the family of piglets that we have spotted feeding in the lovely long grass. And the grass is so long at the moment that unfortunately I can't tell you how many piglets there are. Oh, very skittish. It's very windy, of course. And well, that's what happens out here. So I suppose I should introduce myself. Hey, David. Hello, everybody. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me this afternoon is David, of course. And well, we had a family of piglets of warthogs and piglets, but unfortunately they're not so relaxed. They're popping out every now and then. There we go. You can just see them running off. Isn't that wonderful? And there they go. But as you know, as the wind picks up in these areas, the animals do tend to get a little bit more skittish and want to run away. But that's all right. Hopefully we'll find something else. And we did have a very quick glimpse at them too. I was just about to say, what's coming out on the road? It's the James. It's the James and Brian, and there they go. Not hanging around to chat, because James is looking for Karula, of course. Oh no, he's stopping for a chat. He's changed his mind. My live.
Hello, as you were.
Okay, we'll keep checking this side.
David shown everybody his bag of eats.
No, we should show them this. We collected a bag of marulas. Can you see that? Isn't that wonderful?
Aren't they a little green?
No,
I think they are.
they're not a little green. Do you want to taste one?
No, I've eaten enough. I also think if you eat all of those during the course of this
When we're
flight,
sick.
you're going to be deeply ill.
Yes? I've prepared David. I told him he's had his cut off now. He's had 4 this afternoon. That's it. He's got 2 on the ice, and that's all.
They're just very good.
Okay, we're going now.
Everywhere.
Okay, bye. Right. So yes, David and I to go actually. This big.
I'm afraid she lost signal as she went down the hill. Did you see how that was a rhythm, Brian? Excellent. We'll just carry on past where Taylor was going. I'm sorry about that, everyone. We really are in the face of some dreadful glitches at the moment. We will sort them out forthwith. Hopefully our signal will be fine through here. We need to go down towards Treehouse Dam on this road. You see, that's why we're coming down here. Oh, we have internet back, which means we're going to have questions. Please send through your questions. Questions at WildEarthTV. Otherwise, #SafariLive is how you get hold of us. Send us comments, questions, tell us what you want to see. And also, I'm going to continue my narrative from this morning because I didn't get many very good answers about the party that we're going to have next month for Shongile and Hosana. They will be 1 year old, and so far we have cake and, what are they called? Tickle blowers.
Tickle blowers.
That's all we've got going so far. I think that we need a bit more in the way of ideas for their party. Shongile and Hosana, if you are a new viewer, are 2 young leopard cubs. They're 11 months old, not surprisingly, given that their next month, on the 2nd of February, is their first birthday. We're obviously not really going to have a party for them. Well, we might actually, they just probably won't attend it. Might have to have apple juice as well, don't you think, Brian?
Yeah, definitely.
Righty, I'm afraid you're stuck with us at the moment. Look at that, Brian. I'm getting a feeling of deja vu, aren't you?
I am.
There's the very same Waterbuck that we've just seen, but that's his other side. Her other side. Looks remarkably similar to the other side, really. Left and right. Perfectly symmetrical Waterbuck, this one. And I'm afraid Taylor's had to go back to camp to fix 1 or 2 things. We don't know where Byron is. He may be lost. So it's Waterbuck, Brian and James for the next 3 hours. Good. Super. Excellent. Marvellous. Awesome. Oh, question. Hello, Connor. Is this our Connor, or was it a real Connor on the internet? Connor Teagues. That's the drone commander. He wants to know why Waterbuck is so hairy. Connor? It's not really known, but we do know that their hair, quite interestingly, is quite sparse. So it's not as thick as it might look. It's quite long, but it's sparse, and it contains a fairly waterproof oil. That means that they can go into water and get dry quite quickly. But I've very seldom seen any Waterbuck doing anything in the water other than 1 or 2 running away from lions, but we've seen plenty of Nyala and Impala do the same thing when they're trying to get away from predators. So why it should be quite that length, I'm not entirely sure, but it isn't quite as thick and warm as it looks, and apparently it's I think they said the fibres are supposed to be relatively hollow, so the waterbuck does not overheat like you might expect it to. I hope that answers your question, Connor. Now, could you get out there and put your drone in the air, please? Thank you so much. We're keeping an eye in the drainage line. This is their favourite drainage line. And Connor apparently is not going to be on the drone this afternoon, given that there are, and I quote, too many technical issues brew. Too many technical issues brew. You know, there's young people today, they speak in a very strange fashion. Brew. Totes. Whatevs. And Susie, good question from you. You're wondering about the male leopard tracks we saw earlier today, and will we be following up on them? That is the other reason that we're in this area. The other reason that Byron isn't quite up yet on bushwalk, they drove down to this area to see if they couldn't get onto those tracks kind of straight away. Just watching the ground quite carefully here, and I'm seeing a lot more hyena tracks these days, which is excellent stuff. With any luck, we will have some decent hyena viewing fairly soon. We're going to drive very slowly along here and then do a pass over the southern boundary. So I also had those female leopard tracks going south today, and I wondered if Karula hadn't killed something this side of the world and then decided to go and fetch her youngsters and perhaps bring them back. I don't know. We'll see. Early days in the afternoon. We might also try and go and find those lions at some stage, but they had moved off when we went around there this morning at around about 10 o'clock. They seem to have moved off, but I think they're probably in the shade, not too far from there. They could easily pitch up at the dam cam sometime during this afternoon, or over here at Treehouse Dam. They're about equidistant from those. They could also go on to Arathusa to Red Dam. Righty. That's a thought as well. Maybe we should go to Red Dam. Right, we have Byron now hailing on the radio. Taylor's talking to him. Just listening to Byron, he's saying that the lions did head towards quarantine area from the kill, so I think that they probably are knocking about somewhere near quarantine. Look on the floor there. Look at that. How cool is that? Little squirrel taking a nut to go and put in his stash. Now, I don't know if you were on walk with us yesterday, but Herbert showed us how to get the nuts out of those things. It's not easy at all. Isn't that beautiful? Sorry, I missed your question there, Cindy from Florida. I'm going to get it again. Oh, can you make pie? I don't think you could make pie out of marula fruits, and it's simply because there's not enough flesh on the fruits, Susie. They don't have... I mean, they've got flesh, but it's kind of very stuck to the pip, and it's a very thin layer of flesh. There's not a lot of it, so you can't sort of cut it off. So no, I wouldn't try and make marula pie unless I had a great, great deal of time. But the teeth of a squirrel are perfectly designed to extricate the nut from that sort of husk, if you like. It doesn't have to break it open. And once that squirrel's finished, you can see, I mean, his little rodent teeth will help him to crush a little bit of the husk, but he'll be able to get at the nut, and then when he drops it, it'll look like a little alien's head. There'll be two, that sort of, you know, those traditional cone-headed aliens with the big eyes. That's what it'll look like. And where the big eyes would be, where the nut is currently being eaten from. That's very cool. I'm just a little sad that he's decided to do that behind a tree. It's very unkind of him, Brian. Anyway, that is the tree squirrel. I'll try and sneak forward. Let's see if he moves. gone. A nervous squirrel. And that was out of a pile of elephant dung. So the nut has obviously come through the elephant's digestive system, and I suspect has been largely cleared of flesh, which makes it just a little bit easier for the squirrel to get at the nut. Quite pleased that I don't have to forage in elephant dung for my supper. Ugh. I'm afraid you're still stuck with us for now. It would seem that the bushwalk is perhaps also having a little bit of difficulty. Alright, Taylor is coming back out. That's excellent news. See my own footprints from last night on this road. Yes, James, I would agree with you completely. You say that squirrel is something that Hosana and Shungile might like for their birthday. I think they'd probably like about 4 squirrels each for their birthday. They are certainly big enough to eat 4 squirrels each now. Perhaps a pickled squirrel or squirrel pie would be a nice change for their birthday, Brian. Squirrel pie does sound very good, actually. I think you'd need quite a few squirrels to make a good-sized pie. With a marula crust, oh yes, marula cobbler as the pudding. You better start peeling them now. Is that an elephant? No, it's a shadow. Now, I don't see any further tracks here, so we'll just keep going. We'll check all the pans as well. It's been quite a hot day. I suspect it's around about 33 or so degrees Celsius, which must put us at a roughly, well, pushing 90 degrees Fahrenheit. There's an Impala, Brian, just in front of us. Marvellous. A little bachelor herd of Impalas. They really have no interest in being around the ladies at the moment. They're all looking after the babies, paying the men absolutely no attention at all. And so they've formed their little bachelor groups. And round about March or so they'll start boxing each other again as the estrus cycle begins yet again. I can't believe we're almost having that discussion already. It seems just a few months ago that we were having the same discussion before the ewes were even pregnant, and now they've got their babies, and the cycle, the endless circle of life, Brian, will begin again. Splendid. It's quite a strong southeasterly breeze this afternoon. And I just think these chaps' horns are rather spectacular. And an interesting thing, of course, is why they should have horns. Tremendous energy expenditure. And it's almost certainly not for defense. And we know that, of course, because the females do not have horns. And so their horns are almost certainly for fighting each other and fighting over women and possibly attracting the ladies. I suspect the length of the horns and shape and width probably has something to do with how the females select their mates. So it becomes something of a peacock's tail situation. Yes, and Baby Gnu, I agree with you completely, and as would many of your colleagues, the Baby Gnus in the herd that we have here. You say, it's wonderful to see the bush so green. It is absolutely wonderful. It makes game viewing slightly more difficult because, of course, with greenness comes thickness. And so a lot of the bushes are very thick indeed, and it's difficult to see behind them. But it is just a lovely time of year to be out here, especially, with those aerial shots that we've been getting with the drone commander. I'll tell you, we made a little video about the drone today, which will be published relatively shortly, And we tried to get Connor to introduce himself in the video as the drone commander, and he didn't think that was very proper at all, so he insisted on being the drone pilot. I thought commander was much more glamorous, don't you, Brian? Much more. Connor doesn't like glamour, I don't think. Alright, Taylor's managed to get herself back to work, and let's find out if she is still going to Cheetah Plains or if she'll be driving around quarantine.
We are indeed back and up and running. David can hear everything that's going on now. Can you hear David? David's listening so well. Now, Herbert called us back because, oh, actually not Herbert, Brian. What is wrong with me today? Byron. Oh, goodness, it's going to be a long day today, I can tell already. And with just having you guys, unfortunately, having to listen to me mess up my words. So we came back because we were actually on our way, of course, to go to Cheetah Plains to have a scratch around there. Maybe we get a herd of Ellies. But then Byron and Herbert said that the lions had moved from where they've been for the last 2 days, so where they were this morning. They'd moved away and they'd crossed the drainage coming towards the big open plains in front of the DRC. So we just came to very quickly have a look. We're doing a loop, checking underneath all the big marula trees this afternoon because they're the only real thing that has shade at the moment. But if I were a lion, I don't know if I'd want to sit under a marula tree, especially a female marula tree that's bearing fruit, because with the wind this afternoon, I think that those cats could get a nasty surprise in the form of something dropping on the top of your head. So that's another tip for when you are out in the bush. Don't sleep under marula trees during January, February and March. Typically try and avoid them. Maybe choose a different tree that doesn't have large fruits that could bop you on the head. That wouldn't be too fun. But I think we'll leave the lions, hopefully for Mr. Henry a little bit later. Maybe Herbert and Byron get lucky, and of course they manage to find them on foot. So I think we're going to keep going. We'll check Twin Dams, and then we shall head to Cheetah Plains. Maybe we get lucky that side. But sadly, there's something that I wanted to try and see this morning, and I didn't get a chance to. Was that big herd of wildebeest at open area, quarantined open area, with all the little tiny babies, because that's an animal I haven't seen yet, is wildebeest babies. So I'm missing those for this year, but we desperately have to find some this afternoon. That's definitely going to be on the agenda. Now remember, this is a live safari, of course, and we'd love to get your questions through. Even if you've got any nice pictures you want to show us, you can hashtag Safari Live, or you can send those questions through to questions@WildEarthTV. David, it's very quiet around here. I think we need to move up and out of this area. Right. And I suspect it's because of the wind. Hello Graydon, who is a mere 6 years old. I hope that you are enjoying this, and hopefully we'll be able to find you some cats this afternoon. Now you're wondering, why don't we get any snow here? That's a very good question. I think, well, it's just too hot in Africa, I think. And I don't know, do you think the elephants would appreciate the snow? As much as I'd love to see an elephant in the snow, I don't think that the animals in Africa, unfortunately, would be well adapted. None of them have big hairy coats to keep them nice and warm. I don't know, those little elephants would freeze to death. Can you imagine? I think maybe the leopards and the lions would be okay. They'd probably get a little bit fluffier. But I do kind of feel sorry for some of the antelope species. They'd have to grow a very thick winter coat. And then of course something like well, a buffalo and a poor elephant and a rhinoceros, I don't know how they would keep themselves warm if we had horrible freezing, snowing weather here. And can you imagine, we going out, do we get snow days then as well? Does that mean when there's too much snow to drive around, do we take the afternoon off? What do you think? Snow days. So no, and sadly no snow here, and it's just too hot in Africa. But I'm sort of happy about that. I would not enjoy the day that we had a snowstorm and we'd have to go out on safari in the snow. I don't think that would be very fun. we would freeze to death. David, do you even have proper winter?
Not for snow.
Not for snow. We'd be extremely unprepared because I don't know if you've noticed, but most of us just live in shorts. So it would be very cold. I've got thick socks though, so at least my feet would stay warm, but the rest of my body would probably freeze to death. Anything lower than about 60° Fahrenheit is basically below freezing here in South Africa. We would probably die of temperatures of that cold, especially up here. We're so accustomed to the warm weather. But now I'm hoping that we're going to find some animals in a moment, because, well, right now there's not even an impala, and I'm even looking for a bird, but no birds. David, remember what happened yesterday? We said to everybody that we were going to try and add some new birds to everyone's bird list, and we didn't. No, we got stuck with the not stuck. We happily sat with that beautiful leopard, and then we had a look at all the sunsets. I think we need to do a bit of birding today. Hopefully the birds are going to be hanging onto their branches though, because it's exceptionally windy. Let's see if we can pick up a little bird maybe hiding in this drainage system. Let's have a look. You can hear a couple tweeting away, but it's very windy. Now you can all see it's very green at the moment as we're scanning for, of course, birds up in the trees or on the ground. And we know this because we're very fortunate we had a little bit of rain. Now Ben, you were wondering if we've had enough rain to sort of call it the end of the drought. I think we're getting a little bit excited. This is just my opinion, because I don't even think we've even reached half our yearly requirement. Normally this area will get not very much rain. Now I've forgotten the annual rainfall. Do you know that? It's completely vanished out of the top of my head. It's normally about 1,000 mils of rain, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, maybe only 600 mils for down here. Sorry, I could be talking about the south, which is a little bit greener down there, closer to the big river systems. So maybe it's only about 600, but somewhere between 600 and 1,000. It sort of varies about in this greater Kruger area. And I haven't spent enough time in the north to give you my personal opinion, but I don't think we've had enough just yet. I think we need at least another 150 to 200 mils of rain before we can confidently say that we're going to get through this year. Because remember, we went through almost 2 seasons where we didn't come close to reaching our annual rainfall, and the vegetation and just the environment has taken a huge knock. So hopefully we'll get consistent rain like what we've been having, so 30 mils here every sort of week. That would be fantastic. And I hope we don't get flash floods like what happened down in the southern sector of the Sabi Sand. That's something that you don't really want. It really does. Well, firstly, it will ruin the roads. You won't be able to go anywhere. We might be okay here because there's not too many sort of valleys or depressions. So I think we'd be able to navigate around. But it can be quite difficult. No off-roading. You won't be able to do any of those types of things for a long time, for weeks and weeks. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that we keep getting the steady rain that we have been having, because that's perfect. That's a good way just to keep the vegetation topped up all the time and to keep it nice and green and lush. We could not get another drop of rain. This could happen. We could only get rain again next year, which would be terrible. So I hope that that doesn't happen. But we're going to keep moving along, and I'm going to hold down onto my hat because it's exceptionally windy now. And hopefully we are going to find something on Cheetah Plains. But David and I are going to race on over there. Let's go back across to James and see if he's having any luck with the Queen of Djuma.
Oh, well, he's up to what he was up to before, looking for leopard tracks and finding none. Don't worry, with any luck we will be able to find something, if not a leopard, something else. Ooh, watch out the suicide. Be careful for the suicide. No. There's a red-crested kohan in there, the suicide bird that many of you will know about, but he didn't want to make a suicide dash there. Anyway, I'm also hoping for a couple of elephants because it has been a hot day. So our next port of call is going to be Twin Dams. see what has come to drink there. Now, I think that the the giraffe. I think that the Hardy-Dars from Twin Dams have been eaten. It's very sad. Donovan, I caught the second part of your question about wanting to join a safari team and what qualifications you need, and I shall just quickly ask for the first part again. Have I ever been attacked while in a vehicle? Well, not so much by an animal, certainly by a few guests though. I've been attacked by guests, but not by animals while we're in the vehicle, no. Animals tend to be a lot less unpredictable, a lot less dangerous than human beings. Donovan, I am of course being entirely facetious. There are a few giraffe here. We'll start with this one. There we are. To be a safari guide, Donovan, you don't need anything particularly intellectually challenging. You don't need a specific qualification. In South Africa, you've got to get a sort of you've got to get a license, but there are various accredited people who will give you a license, or will not give you. You have to do a little bit of work for it. That's to be a very basic level guide, though, and you know, it's open to everybody, which means that a basic level guiding qualification is A, not very hard to get, and B, is not going to teach you a great lot. So, I mean, I personally did a degree in biology, but you certainly don't need a degree in biology to become a safari guide. You basically just need experience. So you get your license, find a good place to work for, and then gather experience and knowledge. And then for something like the job that we do, well, I think you need about 3 or 4 years of guiding experience, because you pick up a lot of different bits and pieces of knowledge as you guide, and without that it's very difficult to keep a drive like this going. You need to have a relatively broad knowledge of what's going on out here in the wild, and you won't get that from a very basic course. Anyway, that's the idea behind how you become a guide. And I mean, it depends where you do it in the world. If you're in Zimbabwe, you've got to do an apprenticeship. Kenya, you have to be a Kenyan first of all, and then you can do various guiding courses there. Botswana, you have to be a Botswanan. So it really does depend on where you are and what you want to do with it. Now, Mackenzie, you wanted to see a giraffe. Well, there you are, Mackenzie. You're not the only one that wants to see a giraffe. Andrew from Cheetah Plains does, so I'm just going to hail him on the radio. Andrew, Cheetah Plains, come in. Unfortunately, Andrew is not listening to his radio. Oh, there we go, he is. Andrew, there are 2 giraffe at the junction of Zoe's and Philemon's cut line, if you want them. What kind of animals? Winter Prism, you reckon that giraffe are odd animals? I don't think that they're odd. Well, I suppose they are odd, because they're the only animal of their design, really, aren't they? There's another one just here. So yes, there are another 2 here. I suppose they are odd. But they're odd for a reason. They're odd, of course, because they exploit a food niche that very few other animals can. And interestingly, you know, they're not the animals that can reach the highest. Do you know what that animal is? That animal out here is actually the elephant. The elephant can reach up higher. A big bull elephant standing on his back feet can reach up higher than a giraffe. Brian? What do you think that is? I found it in the car.
Oh. A kiwi.
Is it a kiwi?
It's a kiwi.
Ah, I think that must mean that David's been in here. Yes. Very nice. Okay, well, we can go back to the giraffe now. Do you think giraffe eat kiwis?
Most likely.
Most likely. We won't feed it to them, though, in case they don't. There's a young bull and his consort, perhaps a sort of budding teenage romance here. Do you think that's what's going on, Brian?
Potentially.
Yes. They certainly look quite shy about talking to each other. Perhaps their friends have put them together and left them. RJ, you're not running. You're wondering how fast a giraffe can run. Well, these two, I hope you're not going to be running from each other, given that they seem to be in the state of early blossoms of love. But a giraffe can run very quickly. A giraffe can probably run at about 45 miles an hour, I'd say. I mean, they are pretty quick. Louise says, I mean kilometers. No, I do mean miles. About 60 kilometers an hour, I reckon, that a giraffe can hit. They are pretty quick. Now, a human being, often it's quite difficult to figure it out, because a human being running the 100 meters at 10 seconds, so if you're sort of Usain Bolt speed, you are averaging 36 kilometers an hour. So that is, well, I mean, what's 36 kilometers an hour in miles? Gosh, that's difficult. Divide by 1.6. Well, I don't know what it is. I'm going to say roughly 25 miles an hour is what Usain Bolt can achieve. So a giraffe, I reckon, runs at almost double that speed. They have enormous strides, and I've seen video footage of them streaming across desert landscapes where there are no trees and being chased by lions, and they are very, very fast indeed. But nothing out here is slow, you know. Next, this is a question asked of horses, of impala, and now giraffe. How, with such skinny legs, do they manage to support all that mass? Well, they've got pretty dense bones. I suppose proportionately they are thinner than ours. Well, not than mine. Mine are probably proportionately thinner than giraffes, but they're probably proportionately slightly thinner than human beings' legs. Yeah, they've just got very dense bones, and there's sufficient bone and muscle holding that together for them to be completely fine. But the bones are brittle in some ways, and I mean, much as with horses, you know, if a horse steps in a hole at full tilt, it's going to break its leg. And much the same with these things. If they fall while they're running full tilt over rocky ground, they can easily break a leg. And then, of course, it's tickets. They're looking up here at something, and I wonder if there isn't something interesting. Let's just move forward a bit. RJ, you're wondering if the pointy things on their heads are made of bone. They are absolutely made of bone, and they come straight out of the skull, and they're born with them, interestingly, and they're called ossicones, or, according to Byron, ossicles. I mean, they're basically horns, except that they don't grow only on the male, and they grow from birth. And when they're born, they're folded onto the top of the head, and about 2 days or 3 days after they're born, they will stand up and fuse with the skull and begin to grow. And then they don't really get longer than that. That one will eventually have bald horns by the time he's a great big strapping lad. He's not actually that young. I'll tell you why I say that. As you see that big bump in front of his horns, that's indicative of the fact that he has spent quite a lot of time battling over ladies. And, very nice. That's beautiful. I often wondered what it would be like to be able to clean my own nose with my tongue. Giraffe. I keep calling the people who've asked questions by the name of the animal I'm looking at. Trent. We're sitting here in complete silence, of course. Well, you're only listening to me and perhaps the wind going past and Brian's odd sardonic comment. And you want to know if giraffe are able to make comments, or do they make any sounds at all? They do, Trent, and these two are probably could easily be talking to each other as we speak. They make infrasonic sounds, so they speak via frequencies that are too low for our human ears to hear, in much the same way that elephants do. And I was reading about this actually today, and apparently no one really knows how they do it yet. Their larynxes, or the voice box, is very similarly structured to that of a horse. We all know what a horse does, Brian. What does a horse do?
It bleats.
Yes, but can you make the bleating of a horse for us? Not exactly. Now, you've never heard a giraffe do that. You'd consider it quite strange if you went past a giraffe and it went... So we're not actually sure how they make it, but they do make infrasonic sounds, somehow blasting a huge amount of air, possibly using very powerful diaphragm muscles out of their necks, and it comes out below the frequency that we can hear. They will also, I have heard a giraffe make a groaning sound, like a sort of she did when her baby was being eaten by a leopard. And it was a stillborn little calf, and she stood around it for 3 days. It was heartrending, and eventually a male leopard came past and scavenged on it. But every time he went near the stricken offspring, she'd make that noise. Would you like to try that, Brian? Yeah, you're very good at those noises, Brian. Yes. You do work on them. We're going to go a little bit forward. Now, Cindy, you're in North Carolina, and you're wondering if I've ever seen a giraffe being born. Oh no, I've dropped this kiwi fruit. Cindy, I have never seen a giraffe being born, no. And I mean, I've met people who have. I don't think it's that unusual to see. I think I've seen the very end of it, when the very last piece of giraffe comes out. I've come around a corner and it's dropped onto the floor. I've seen that, but yeah, it's not something that I've seen often. Well, I mean, that's the only part of it I've seen. You do see it, though. It's not that uncommon to see a giraffe being born. And what they do, of course, is that they give birth standing up. And they need to do that, apparently, because the umbilical cord ruptures as gravity acts on the new baby. And the new baby weighs as much as an elephant. Not an adult elephant, but as much as an elephant baby. So they weigh roughly 100 kilograms, or 220 pounds, which is massive. If you think of the size of a giraffe compared to that of an elephant. A big elephant cow weighing in at about 4,500 kilograms, or 10,000 pounds odd, and maybe 3.5, let's call it 3,500 kilograms, or 8,000 pounds or so. And a big female giraffe will probably weigh, an enormous female giraffe will weigh less than a third of that. That was a Steenbok, was it, Brian? And Cindy, you're wondering about the estrus cycle. I'm assuming you're wondering about when they come into estrus. You'll find that giraffe are not necessarily seasonal breeders, so they don't necessarily have a breeding season that is fixed like an Impala's breeding season. But what they do have is a peak. They will have a breeding peak during the winter, at least during the summer months. So most of their babies will be born between now and probably April or so, and then there'll be a sort of tailing off. But they can be born in winter quite easily, and that's, I think, probably because giraffe have a great deal to eat just about most of the time. Only sort of September, October, when the trees are really bare, do they struggle to find sufficient to eat. Yes, no, we haven't found anything further through here, so we're going to turn around and go to the southern boundary again. Now, Tucker, you ask a very good question. You're just 4 years old, and obviously you're going to be a very good naturalist one day. You say, do giraffe get married in the same way that zebra do? Now, Tucker, you obviously know that zebra get married. One zebra stallion has got 3 or 4 wives, and so he marries 3 or 4 wives. Now, giraffe, they don't really do the same thing. They will have what we call temporary marriages, Tucker, which means that they're not married for a long time. They get married for maybe about a week, and then once they're sure that they're going to have a baby, then the male giraffe goes off and the female has to raise the baby on her own. So they're only married for about a week, Tucker. It's not a very long time, is it? And they only have, well, they can have a number of wives in one season, but they don't ever kind of stay with one wife. Right, let us head down to the southern boundary and do a little patrol there. And then we'll go maybe and try and find those lions if we don't find any sign of leopard. There's a big pig. Brian has spotted an enormous pig. Ah, yes, I see what you mean, Brian. It is a vast pig. Say when. That is a huge, huge pig. Forward again. There. Now, Aurora, you seem to be at school from South River Elementary School, and you say, what country are we in? We're in South Africa, and South Africa is at the bottom of Africa. It's the southernmost country of Africa. And you know, there are 50 countries in Africa. No, they're not. There are 45 odd countries in Africa. And we are the one that is furthest south. So we're right at the bottom if you look at the map. And that's the country we're in. And you know what? Some people say that this is the most beautiful country in the world. Brian and I agree, don't we, Brian? We've got all of these places with the wild animals here. We've got mountains. We've got the world's most beautiful beaches. We have a desert in the middle of the country. We've got forests on the coast. Anything we don't have, interestingly, is snow. We get very little snow here at all, which means we can't really go skiing. But that's okay. We stay warm in the wintertime. There's a nice breeze blowing from the southeast, keeping us nice and cool, which is very pleasant indeed. Right, well, let's sit with him for a little while. It's quite nice to sit with a pig like this. He's being quite confiding to us, which means, for those of you who don't know, I'm not sure how many people from the school are watching, but it means that he is quite prepared to come and share his life with us. He's not scared of us. And big tusks, and you can see he's a big male boar, or male pig. You can see that from the fact that he's got those 2 warts coming out underneath his eyes, and then 2 more further down his face. 4 warts for the male, 2 warts for the female. Do you have any warts, Brian?
No.
Oh, good. Well done. I'm so pleased that you don't have any warts. David's got a wart, doesn't he?
Yes.
David's got a wart on his foot, everybody. You must ask him about it the next time you see him. Sneak? No, I'm not going to sneak forward. This is wonderful. Let's stay here. There's lovely eyes blinking in the late afternoon sun. And loving the grass. Now what he's going to do is dig up the stolons and the roots and the rhizomes. Sorry, if I sound a little distracted, it's because the game drive is talking about Cheetah, but they're on Torchwood, I'm afraid, so they're not around here. And a rhizome is a very nutritious sort of underground stem. They will be eating the leaves as well, but it's that underground kind of very carbohydrate-rich food that they want to eat. And he's looking very fat indeed, I'm sure, as a result of all the fresh growth that we have here from the rain. I'm just going to quickly do a communications test with the final control to make sure that they're A, still there, and B, not asleep. Hello? Oh good, they are still here. Excellent. Right, on we go then. And Stuart, you're wondering what my favourite habitat type here in South Africa is. Stuart, my favourite habitat type, it does vary, but I have two. And this is not to say that I don't love this habitat type, but my favourite is up in the Drakensberg Mountains, and then also by the sea. I love some of our seaside areas, and the inland rivers that come off the sea, especially in the Eastern Cape. Those are my sort of favourite habitat types. But I enjoy being in this area. Well, I love being in this area. I live in this area. I love being in the sort of vast, desolate expanses of the Karoo, which is a semi-desert in the centre of the country. Yeah, there are just hundreds of different beautiful places, even up on the Highveld around Dullstroom, which is a good sort of, what is that? It's about 2,000 meters, about 6,500 feet above sea level, so very high up, and that's gorgeous in the winter time especially. Alright, I think we'll leave these giraffe and carry on going. Let us continue down here, and we're going to do a southern boundary patrol just to see if we can't find a few tracks of Karuli, see if she's come back to feed her babies. That's strong wind coming from the south, and it looked like it was going to rain a little bit earlier. The weather report swore blind it was going to rain all week, and thankfully that has not been the case. Now let us turn onto the fire break here, Brian, where we had a wonderful interaction with an elephant this morning, a young bull. Perhaps he is still around here. I wonder. I'm going to keep an eye on the ground here. Alright, Taylor is on Cheetah Plains. Let's go and find out how she's going to do there, or what she's going to do there, and what she's going to find. I will keep you posted on the tracks on the next time I see you.
We've just arrived at Lake Djuma. As you can see, it is now filled up quite nicely. And, well, you won't believe it, but there's actually a mammal in this watering hole at the moment, but it has decided to play hide and seek, and hopefully in roughly about 6 minutes or so we may see it pop up. So I hope you're ready to wait because, well, a hippopotamus can hold its breath for a very, very, very long time, and I think he's quite shy, and I don't know why he's so shy, because he's a big hippo bull. And I think that they can be quite scary, but we'll see. Maybe he's going to pop up for us in just a moment. Maybe he's planning a surprise attack, David. There we go. There's some bubbles. He's coming up. Can you see the bubbles? There they are. Where is he going to pop up? I think he's going to go. He looks like he's moving. You can actually follow the bubble trail that he's now leaving. You can see how he's... Oh, there he is. Hello. And down he goes again. So hippos are not necessarily the greatest swimmers, but they are able to control their buoyancy pretty well, and they'll sink down to the bottom. And I don't think that this dam is too deep. Probably just, I don't know what, maybe about 1.5 meters, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more than that. But you can see him moving. And he's just walking along the bottom. Now, I don't know why he's moving so quickly. But there he is. He's going to pop up again, I think. You can see... Where is he going to go? We'll let him pop up once more, and then we will reposition. Actually, David, I think he might... There, he's still going. He's actually going to go behind the trees in a moment. Right, let's quickly go around to the next little viewpoint, which is just here. But this is a wonderful spot. This is beautiful. We could even see crocodiles here. Nice sandy banks. Let's see. Can you see where the bubbles are now, David? Pretty much straight in line. He's going far away. Off he goes. He's still going to the left. He might be going towards the other side of the dam, it looks like it. You see, there we go. Well spotted, David. Yes. And I hope you're timing him. He's moving very, very quickly. Now, I've been charged by a hippo before in a boat. In like a little speedboat in Zambia, and that was exceptionally intimidating. You sit there and you just see a massive wake coming towards you. It's okay, big boy. Sort of about a foot out of the water. And they normally will run on the, where it's sort of quite shallow. And he was charging us. He was not happy. Apparently we'd got too close to the pod of hippos that were just sitting off in the shallows, and we didn't even see them. They'd obviously all gone down underneath the water at the same time, and this bull came for us. My goodness. And the amount of times that I saw hippos coming, charging out of the massive reeds across the shallows again, and then sort of jumping down into deeper water. Once you see something like that, and not just what we're looking at, a hippo occasionally popping its head up every now and then, you realize how intimidating these creatures really are and how massive they actually are. But it's a bustling dam. There's quite a few terrapins around as well, and I think that the bird life is going to be quite nice. I'm just sort of keeping my eye out to see if there's a kingfisher perhaps hanging around. Maybe we'll get a couple more water birds and things joining this watering hole as well. David, do you think we should go around the corner? We'll have one last look at our friend the hippo. He's a little bit nervous of us, so I don't want to pressure him too much. It's okay, big boy. But I would like to show you, because the dam actually still continues around the corner. There we go. As he goes under for another 6 minutes, let's go and have a look what's around the corner. What do you think we're going to see, David? Turtle diving? That is ridiculous, but I'm hilarious in the same breath. So let me just tell you why I'm roaring with laughter. As Justin's just said to me, I wonder hippos temporarily pretend that they are flying, sort of when they're bobbing up and down. Right, so unfortunately I can't show you the rest of the watering hole, because if I go any more forward the gremlins are going to attack me. I can see them. They're coming in from the sides, they're plotting, so we're going to actually have to reverse and not go forward. But yes, there's a little bit more water that sort of goes along just to the right and around the corner, which is quite nice. So it's a massive area. I'm surprised there's not an entire pod of hippos. And rightio, we're going to leave our friend the hippopotamus, who's not too happy with us today, and we're going to go around and check the bigger plains. But let's go back across to James, and well, I'm not sure what he's got planned for you next.
I haven't had any luck, and I think this is probably the job for someone on foot. So we'll wait and see if Bushbalk gets up and running, and they can come down here, and we'll just continue our patrol and see what else we can find. We might still be lucky with them, but I think my staring at the ground while we're on game drive is not going to be the most entertaining thing in the world, so I shall try and find you something else. I'm also trying to find the plant that Rexon fed to David and I the other day on a walk, and I can't find it anywhere. We found it under one tree around the Balanites tree on Zoe's Road, and it likes to grow in the shade, and I can't find it again, and I don't remember what it was called. It was called in Shangaan, it's called Shinkondlo. And that's not the one that Rexon told me about, of course, that is used for the curing of pneumonia, but via the back end, as it were. He swears blind that it works. That's Shinkanyankanya. That's that plant there. Let me just get you some, hang on. Shinkanyankanya. I just like to say the word Shinkanyankanya. And it's in and amongst these plants that we would find Shinkondlo. Apparently it will cure pneumonia. Brian, you don't have pneumonia, you've got more tuberculosis. Yeah. Yes. Brian's had a nasty cough, everybody. But I think it's getting better. Is it getting better, Brian? Oh, that is very good. What a relief. all concerned. Anyway, we'll keep an eye out for the delicious bush. It's got a very sweet tuber. While we keep a lookout for everything else, of course. I do apologize once again for the technical glitches we're having. I'm not sure why they should be happening right now, but best they happen right now rather than, of course, during our TV show. And I must thank all of you as well for your patience during the TV show. And it's always nice, you know, especially during our advert breaks, when we hear from you and we know that you are watching us. And it's like having, I don't know, it's like having a sort of a faithful bunch of friends on the other part of the world really rooting for you. So that's very kind of you, and we've had lots of very kind words of encouragement from all of you for our TV show, so thank you very much. It can be a fairly nerve-wracking operation, and your support is much appreciated and noted, so thank you for that. And the reason, of course, like I say, that trying to find Karula is pretty important for us now is that we do need to follow her story over the next 8 weeks. There it is. You see it there? Just on the edge, you got him. There we go. How cool is that? That is a grasshopper, obviously. Now, I think I've seen him in the book, so I'm going to quickly try and identify him for you. He's about, what, 3 inches long, Brian? He's quite a large fellow. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's, no, that can't be him. That's not big enough. He's got some wonderful coloration. Let me just quickly page through the grasshoppers. There's so many grasshoppers in the world that it's almost impossible. Ah, no, that's him. That's him exactly. He's called a garden locust. A garden variety locust. I'll show you a picture of him. Looks exactly like that. I'm so excited because this insect book is fantastic, but you know, if every insect that had been identified in South Africa was to be in this book, it would take up most of the room where the batteries are in this car. That is fantastic. I'll read to you about him while he sits there. He feeds on leaves, buds and flowers of various trees, but also on grasses. A life cycle similar to that of the one on the previous page. Right, lay eggs in response to the first rains. Eggs hatch simultaneously and nymphal development is completed during the rainy season, a minor pest of vegetable and tobacco. Interesting. And they can apparently come around in autumn normally, the adults. They lay 120 large eggs in a weak pod in freshly turned soil. And winter spent is in egg stage, and the nymphs come out. The nymphs, of course, the little ones that come out of the eggs, around about October. Wings of adults produce crackling sound in flight. And they can break human skin when they kick using the spines on their hind legs. That's interesting. They do have quite vicious spines there. Ooh, look at that. You can see the spines. How wonderful. So the garden locust, not to be trifled with. Now you can see this is an adult, of course, because it's got long wings. The nymphs won't have wings, and so perhaps this is a female looking for a spot to lay her eggs. Those vicious spines will break human skin. What a spectacular creature. And as Louise says, they do look a bit like running spikes, don't they? You can see how the front 2 legs are very weak in comparison with that enormously powerful back femur. For jumping, Brian, it is a jumper. And this one is going to be quite nauseous if it carries on hanging on to that tree, waving about the place. That is really, really a special sighting for me. I don't know why I find it so special, but I do. There it is in the book. And it is a garden locust. Cool. Very nice. Good. Apparently it likes the Port Jackson willow, Acacia saligna, but not many of those here. In fact, none. Let's continue on our firebreak patrol. Now, Ruth, you're in Costa Rica, a country I deeply wish to visit one day, and you say, what kind of animal activity is on the road in front of us, and could we interpret the bush newspaper, as it were, for you? Yes, we can. Not a huge amount of activity after the morning drive. The best time to do that, of course, is in the morning, because at night, that's when there's a huge amount of activity, and in the early dawn, that's when we get a huge amount of activity. Can't see a huge amount on this road. There has been an elephant walking up and down, probably the same elephant we saw earlier today. What else can we see for you? There was a zebra that walked down through there. And there are a couple of ants and termite trails and things. If I see a really good track, I'll stop and I'll show you. But often they're quite difficult to pick up on camera. Much in the way of dove activity. They would have landed here in the mornings to pick up a few seeds and things. There's a drongo here that's mimicking all sorts of other birds. Can you see it, Brian? Oh, there it is. Just behind there. You should have a shot now. There it goes. It's doing... There we go. Oh, it doesn't have a nest here. Right, this isn't what it's called. It is a mimic, but not a very good mimic. They do pearl-spotted owls. That seems to be a bit of a rattling, testicular call. That's a starling. There, now it's doing a starling. That was pretty good. That's a grey hornbill. There he goes. He's flown off. Okay, let's head back across to Cheetah Plains. Taylor, I think, has made it to the clearings, and she's got a large antelope with a corkscrew attached to its head.
We have almost made it to Cheetah Plains. Well, to the big plains, of course. And I have some news for you as you look at these beautiful kudu staring off into the distance and listening to the sound of my voice. Is that there were cheetah on the Torchwood boundary, but unfortunately, and they said 2 cheetah, so I can only imagine that it is our friends, the Cheetah brothers, but they have crossed north out of Torchwood. That's not all. It's not really bad news if you think about it, though, because it means that they're going to have to make their way back here at some point. So probably in the next 2 or 3 days or so, I think that they will be back and we'll have another opportunity to see them. So I think that is quite exciting. And I'm sure the kudu are happy about that too, that they haven't have to worry about any cheetah trying to chase them around. Because we know those boys, they are sometimes a little bit too ambitious and they chase the wildebeest and things around when they don't have babies. And I don't know how... Well, I've never seen a cheetah take down anything before. That's still on my list of cats to watch a cat hunt, and of course it's the cheetah that I'm missing. So I don't know if they're able to take down a wildebeest. I've heard stories of them. That would be exceptionally hard work. But a lot of these kudu are pregnant, and they should have their calves hopefully in the next 2 months or so. Some of them are looking very, very round, and also their udders also look quite swollen. It's difficult to see now because they are, of course, moving through a thicket. But here they come. Oh, thank you, girls. You can see she's got a little bulge. I don't know if she's pregnant. Hello, Reese. Now, Reese, you're actually wondering this afternoon, why do male antelope have horns? And you're interested in how they will evolve to sort of have them. So, Reese, you know what? It's quite interesting. Not all male antelope just have horns. There's some species of female antelope that have horns too, which is quite interesting. So my favorite one of that is actually an antelope called a Blesbok. Blesbok, both male and female, have horns. It's sort of like the wildebeest, where the female's horns are much more slender and the male's horns have sort of got a thicker base to them. And it depends on the species. So for instance, with Impala, one of the reasons that we've heard that they have horns versus the females don't have horns, I'm going to stop just up here so we can have one more look at these kudu in the shade as I tell you about the horns. And it's quite interesting, it's quite an interesting theory actually. So they reckon that because Impala are sort of mixed feeders, they live out in the open, they live in the thick stuff too, they eat grass, they eat leaves, they eat a bit of everything, is that they spend most of their time though grazing and out in the open. So animals that typically will move around in the open areas, the males will defend if something comes around, maybe a lion or a leopard, and if there's an opportunity to defend them. I haven't seen too many Impala standing up to predators though, especially something like a leopard or a lion that could be quite dangerous. But typically the females will race away and will take their young into the thicker vegetation, and the boys will stay behind, or the male will stay behind and defend the herd. That is why they've said that they have horns. Remember, these are all just theories. We don't really know why, because like I said, there are some female antelope that also have horns on top of their heads. Hello, girl. They're being so obliging. These kudu have gone from being a little bit skittish of us to now completely relaxed. Still keeping an eye out though, and an ear out, always listening. But there we go, you can see a very, very pregnant cow. The one that's got her ears flat back against her head. My goodness, I think she could give birth even a little bit sooner than 2 months' time. Maybe by the end of the month, she will have a little calf at foot. But this is lovely. Now, David has said we're going to do something different. We're going to go the other way around to the plains. Look how excited she got there for a moment, doing a little hop and a skip. And we're going to do the reverse way. So we're going to start going all the way around, and then hopefully by the end we will pop out at the big open plains, and at those pans maybe there'll be something down there having a drink. But they're lovely girls, and not spending too much time in the open, just coming through, probably picking at a couple of little nice new shrubs that are growing out there, but making a beeline straight towards the next thicket where they can feast upon their favorite food, which is of course the juicy leaves that are all out at the moment. Look how excited they are. Hi girls. They're very happy. That's lovely to see. Isn't that wonderful? We need a theme music. Now, Liz, you've actually said that you cannot wait to see a baby kudu. It's your favorite antelope, or sorry, favorite herbivore baby. Well, I can't too. They're very funny when they're first born with their very gangly legs. They remind me very much of foals, and they haven't quite grown into their bodies and their ears just yet. And there we go, and off they go into the thicket. But wasn't that lovely? I don't know when I last saw kudu hopping and skipping about, so that was quite nice to see. And it is always nice to see the animals a little on the excited side. David, we're going the right way, aren't we? Okay, just checking. Oh, we've got a herd of Impala coming up too. Let's stop and appreciate all the little ones. Right, here they are. Hi, little ones. Looks like all the little ones have gathered up just to the right. Find a nice gap though. Here we go. Oh, look at those Impala, they're at the log again. I don't know why, and we see this at the dam cam quite often, but all the little Impala seem to be quite fascinated by fallen trees and are always biting on the wood. They must be eating something that they're enjoying. Perhaps they're learning, they've been taught something from the elephants, and they've learned that they can eat the cambium layer of bark. I don't think so, though. I've never seen an Impala munching on bark before. I think it's really only the elephants that utilize that part of the plant. Well, they're one of the few that are actually able to utilize that part of the plant. But lovely. It doesn't seem like there are any leopards around here, though, at the moment, because everybody seems very much relaxed. all huddled up nice and tight though on this windy day. But a bit jumpy, as you just saw that impala on the right. They don't look like they're bounding with happiness like the kudu did. They look to be doing a couple of little nervous leaps and bounds. And of course the wind is not stopping the flies this afternoon. They're swatting their tails, flicking their ears. And I hope it doesn't bother them too much. Oh, here comes the male. Let's see if he's going to chase anybody. He's doing a phlegm and grimace at the moment, so obviously one of them ewes have urinated there, and he's just checking to see if any of them are coming into estrus, but unfortunately, it's a little bit early. You have to wait a few more months. But isn't he beautiful? And he will definitely be a contender in March when they do start chasing the girls around. Oh, he's now using the luxury facilities. That's fantastic. Very nice. Look at that lovely look on his face. There we go. He's a very proud man. But we're going to move on from these impala now. We're going to keep scouring around, searching for a cat or two, maybe even a big elephant. And I'm going to send you all the way back across to Djuma. And I wonder if James has started looking for the Nkuhumas, or if he's still searching for the Queen of Djuma.
We have left Herbert on the tracks of the lions. He's looking currently, and so we're going to leave him there because bushwalk is down, as you may have noticed. We have gone north from the southern boundary, from Twin Dams. We didn't find any further tracks of the Queen, and so we're going to see if we can't have a look at some elephants as well up here. And also apparently there's a great plethora of life going on in front of the Djuma Dam Cam, so we're going to go there, and then we'll make a new plan from there, I suspect. There is an impala over there. It's still blindingly hot, I must tell you. Doesn't it feel hot to you, Brian?
Bright.
And so bright. That impala is not the best impala sighting. Let's continue. Here's a better one. Here's a lone lady. Oh no. Early season love there, Brian, you see that? Do you also see on the ground just below us here? Oh, that's rather nice. Isn't that cool? That is really cool. That's a little yellow, red-billed hornbill, and it's not old, it's a youngster. Its beak is very short, and its beak is short, of course, because it just hasn't had time to grow yet. So maybe a youngster with a parent. That was really very cool indeed. I'll be loving this time of year as well. There's so many grubs and things. Every piece of soil you turn over has got cutworms and beetle larvae and all sorts of interesting things that the hornbills will love. It's a real kind of, I'm sure you all remember the Lion King. I refer to it quite a lot, normally fairly disparagingly when I'm having to dispel the myths of lion behavior perpetuated by the film and the play. But one of the wonderful scenes was when old Simba goes off with Pumbaa and Timon and says, you know, what are we going to eat? And they pick up that log, and there's that huge sort of explosion of colour and life of the little insects and things, and I mean it's like a sort of chocolate box of different colours and flavours apparently, and that really is what it's like out here at the moment. There is a chocolate box variety of different insects that things like those hornbills will be extremely pleased to eat. I haven't seen any lions eating them though, have you, Brian? No. No lions that have made friends with warthogs or dwarf mongoose. I don't know that we get meerkats here.
No.
I don't think you get meerkats in East Africa, in fact. There we go, that's a nice impala scene, and of course around all the water here you will find impala, and that is on account of the fact that impala are very water dependent. Matata. You don't say hakuna, you say agu. Aguna matata means there's no hassle. Don't worry about it. There's no hassle. Aguna matata. And I think it's a lovely saying. I prefer the Zulu one though, don't you, Brian? It sounds more definite. Aguna matata. Justin, yes, I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you this. Lions don't sing. No, I know. You would think that they do. You would think also that a play brought out or a cartoon brought out by a reputable company like Disney wouldn't tell untruths about, for example, Pride Rock and the animals coming there to display, and the elephants standing on their back feet and the giraffe standing and waving their necks, and everybody praising the birth of the animal that was then going to eat them. No, that doesn't happen, and nobody tends to sing about it a great deal. And interestingly, I'll give you a little sneak peek here. We've been asked to write an article. I'm writing an article now for an American publication, and some of you might take offense at this, but I hope you won't. I hope you will take it in the spirit in which it is intended. They asked us to write about our characters here at Safari Live, some of our characters, lions or leopards. So I chose the lions because you've all heard me say that I think that they are much more gangster than they are royalty. So that's what my article is going to be about. And of course things like the Lion King and those beautiful C.S. Lewis books about Narnia, every royal sigil, the lion rampant of Scotland, the 3 lions of England, the lion on the Sri Lankan flag. I mean, there are lions on just lions in the Game of Thrones. The Lannisters have got lions, of course. They're all got these lions because they're these noble, regal animals, but I just think they're much more mafia than they are royalty. So that's what the article is going to be about. And unsurprised, now I'm not going to say what I was going to say. We're going to head up towards the pan here and see if we can't get a view of the Wildebeest herd, which I'm very pleased about their return. Oleg, you're wondering what the Afrikaans name for lion and leopard are. Well, the Afrikaans name for lion is leeu, L-E-E-U, and Oleg, it means lion. And you want to know what the word for leopard is as well. The leopard is luipaard. Oh, are they actual names? No, I'm deeply confused. Louise, you're going to have to give it to me again from the beginning. Oleg. Oh, right. Oleg, you're wondering if the prides and leopard names that we've given them are Afrikaans names, and if they mean anything. They're not Afrikaans, Oleg. They are normally in the language of Xitsonga or Shangaan, which is the local African language of this area. So the Nkuhuma pride means the brown ivory tree pride. They were obviously seen spending some time underneath a brown ivory tree. It's not a very common tree in this area. So they're called the Nkuhuma pride because of that. The Styx pride, well, the Styx pride is named after the Styx River, which was the river that you crossed to the land of the underworld. Sorry, Brian's got a brown-hooded kingfisher. Say when, Brian. Well spotted. Gorgeous brown-hooded kingfisher. Oh, that's wonderful. That's a really great shot. I will get back to you, Oleg, I promise. I think this is also a young one. You see how his blue back is actually rather green. That's gorgeous. Now that's definitely a young bird. Got very mottled feathers, and the beak isn't as long, and the brown-hooded kingfisher, much like its woodland counterpart, He is not an eater of fish, but an insect eater. That is just gorgeous. Look at the colours. That is truly spectacular. Oh, and doing its traditional relief of itself on account of my viewing it. I wonder if its nest isn't quite close by. Oleg, I haven't forgotten about you, I promise. But this bird is very special. They'll also eat things like centipedes and possibly the odd millipede. But their woodland counterparts love to eat centipedes. See the wind blowing, nice gentle breeze towards us, and you can also see perhaps the light is now starting to cool a bit. Or not cool, the light's actually warming. It's going a little bit more yellow, which makes it not quite so washed out as it was. Beautiful. So the Styx Pride, Oleg, named for the Styx River, of course, which is the river you cross into the land of the underworld. And Oleg, that's obviously not an English name, at least a Xitsonga name. Kurula means peaceful. Well, it doesn't actually, because there's a bit of conflict over Kurula's name, but basically you can say it means peaceful. Shongile means beautiful. That's Kurula's 11-month-old youngster. Hosanna means little chief, and he's her brother, Shongile's brother. So they all kind of have a meaning. The interesting one, the different one, is Tandi. Tandi is a leopard who we see sometimes, Kurula's oldest daughter, one of her oldest daughters, and her name is Zulu, and it means love in Zulu. So it's not a Shangaan name. Very nice question there, Oleg. Often, however, these animals, especially the lion prides, are named after the area that they live in. There's an impala up through here. I'm not seeing a great deal else at the moment. We'll go to the water and then we'll pop up onto quarantine clearings and see if the wildebeests aren't there. Those wildebeests are going to be in some trouble. And they're going to be in some trouble because those lions are heading this way. And there is nothing a lion finds easier to kill than a baby wildebeest. I'm going to ignore these impalas because apparently wildebeest are by the pan. Do you think they're wearing invisibility cloaks? Ah, they're on the other side. There we go. Lions will wipe out wildebeest babies extremely fast. Andy, what a lovely question from you, to which I don't really think I know the answer. You say, why or how is it that kingfishers catch fish, even in murky water? Andy, I think you'll find that many of the fish that we have out here are surface feeders, and so they have to come up to the top of the surface and pick off insects and algae and that sort of thing, and I think that's when the kingfishers dive down and grab them. But that's a very good question. Right, there are all the wildebeests, and the sound of the hardy-jar ibis fills the afternoon air. Oh, that's a very pretty scene there, Brian. Very summery, isn't it? And peaceful. Did you see that? The youngsters, there are 3 youngsters next to the one you're looking at now, and they all suddenly looked off to the same side. I think that one's not a good way. Oh, there we are. They're very little. It's very cute. Justin, a nice one from you as well. Again, you say, Other than the misconceptions created by the Lion King, what are some of the misconceptions that people have about the African bush? I think that's a lovely question. There are baboons there, Brian. Can you see? Ooh, no, they're around the other side. Yeah, they're through there. Justin, misconceptions about the African bush. Well, I mean, they're the obvious ones, of course, about, things like elephants get drunk on marula fruits that have fermented, that kind of thing, which is probably much less of a misconception these days than it used to be. I think that the biggest misconception, Justin, is that this is a tremendously dangerous place to be, and that, if you didn't have your brave khaki-clad guide with his Land Rover and giant rifle, you'd almost certainly die in 3.5 seconds without his assistance. Well, this is interesting. A great migration. How wonderful is that? They're not alarmed. Well, they don't seem to be alarming. There are a whole lot of Impala and Nyala down the drainage line. I think they're just having a bit of a migration. Gorgeous. Gee whiz. Let me quickly turn. We'll see them run up the other side. There we go. I think they're going to run again, Brian. Shall I move you forward? Let's get up forward into this clearing here. Because if they run again, we want a nice long view of them.